It's past, and really it's just something with a difference, I guess, having John here, John Hayward. John is the president of the Camberley District Stamp Club, correct? That came out purely in conversation between him and I at a recent camera club. Alan and I and a few others belong to the Windlesham and Camberley Camera Club. And we were celebrating our 90th anniversary dinner a few weeks back. And I was sitting at the same table as John and having a chat, because John is the son of the founder of the Windlesham and Camberley Camera Club 90 years ago. And he supports us all the way. He gets invited to our various functions we have, and when he's a good lady, and they come along and give us their total support still. So it's good to have that sort of connection and to end up in a situation where we are now, with the talk that John told me about stamps. It's a story with a difference. It's also a story with a difference insofar as, I think, maybe except for the very beginnings of our talk, that we haven't used a projector. We've got someone here giving a talk just purely with his own voice, no projection, with some objects to show us and to show us afterwards. Having said all that, John, welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Mike.
I should have said, oops, he's not here yet, but he is here, so that, yeah. Oops being the title of his talk. So.
Well, my talk is called Oops, OOPS, which is relevant because I'm going to talk about stamp error, design stamp errors, not errors on stamps because they've been printed twice or they're upside down or all the rest of it. It's all gone wrong in the printing. This is something that went wrong at the design stage, which is much more interesting to me, and I hope it is to you as well, because all over the world there are lots of people design them. I've come across them and found them for myself. I've read about them in magazines, etc., etc. Some of them are very interesting. Some of them have had worldwide application. There's one very big one on that in here. Others are amusing. Some have led to the designers disappearing, and you'll understand why shortly. And the other thing is I'm going to get you to join in various places because you will know the answers to what I'm going to ask you. Or at least I think you do. And I'm going to start with Christopher Columbus. Because we all know about Christopher Columbus. At the beginning of the last century, that's 1903, St Kitts Nevis in the Caribbean, British colony, issued a stamp to commemorate Columbus's 400th anniversary of founding America. But he made whoever designed it made a schoolboy's howler of a mistake on it. There he is, standing on deck of the Santa Maria, looking in the far distance at what should be America. But if you're looking closely at it, he's got a telescope. What's wrong with the design?
Can't be invented.
That's right. This is supposed to be 1492. Galileo didn't invent the telescope until 50 years later, the middle of the 16th century. So, what an error to make.
Excuse me, John. Just to say a quick thank you to Janice at the back there, and to Jenny. Janice for chasing Jenny all the way to the old museum. So sorry about that. Thank you, Janice.
So what a mistake to make. Now I'm going to put all the illustrations on the table. So when they're finished, apart from any questions, you can come up and have a look at them. You can pick them up because they've got perspex around the outside of them, so you'll be able to look at them and see what I was getting at. Now I'm going to stick with Christopher Columbus because...
What's the stamp that size then?
Pardon?
What's the stamp that size?
No, I've blown it up so you can see it.
Yeah.
No, it's...
No.
That's the beauty of, having the internet these days. You don't have to show the actual size. To blow these things up, you can see them far better, and the people in the back row as well. Now, Columbus also appeared in the 1850s on the stamps of Chile, South America. There he is, headshot of him. But that is a design error. Now you're going to tell me the design error, of course, well, he never went anywhere near Chile. That's quite right, he didn't. But that's not the design error. Anyone guess what's wrong with the design of that stamp? Just the head of Columbus?
Looks a bit female.
Pardon?
It looks a bit female.
No.
No?
Like many famous people, going back before his time and afterwards, there's no contemporaneous portrait or sculpture of him at all. That is pure make-believe. It's made up. No one knows what he looked like. And that's true of lots of other well-known people from the Middle Ages, and of course it's true of Jesus Christ, just the same. There's nothing contemporary about him at all. But as if to prove the point, the Chile Post Office, a few years later, issued 3 more stamps with Christopher Columbus on them. And he's different in every single one of them. When you come up, you'll be able to see. These were issued in 1905, about 40 years after that.
They all come from the same source, presumably, do they?
Well, from the Chile Post Office. I don't know who did the printing and the design.
Sorry, when was the first one?
Pardon?
When was the first one?
1855, I think.
Gosh.
That's Chile's first stamp. But why it should be Christopher Columbus, goodness knows. Now let's stick on discoverers, because someone came along shortly after Columbus, was John Cabot from Bristol. About 10, 15 years after Columbus, he sailed across the Atlantic and discovered Newfoundland. And he sailed on the ship called the Matthew. Here's a stamp from Newfoundland issued in 1897, commemorating the 400th anniversary, and underneath it says, and this is his ship, the Matthew. Well, some of you may have been to Bristol on the odd occasion and walked around the harbour in Bristol, because there's a lovely replica of the Matthew in the harbour at Bristol. And you may have been lucky enough, if you haven't, go and do it. Stand on the Clifton Bridge on a Sunday midday and watch it go out on the way to Avonmouth and back again. It's got a motor, unfortunately, but anyone been on it? It looks gorgeous from the top of the Clifton Bridge. My wife will vouch for that. It's very iconic. But there's something wrong with this. The stamp was printed by the American Banknote Company in New York. So it's made in America, in other words. And the designer got very lazy because he couldn't find for obvious reasons, he couldn't find a picture of the Matthew anywhere. So, from an issue by the American Banknote Company for the United States 15 years beforehand, there was a long set issued to commemorate the 4th centenary of Columbus's discovery, and he pulled out a picture of a stamp on one of the American stamps that had been produced, and he put it on the Newfoundland stamp. That's the Santa Maria. And if you look, when you come up, you'll see they're absolutely identical. Well, it's not only amazing, but one wonders at the cheek of the American Banknote Company to have billed the Newfoundland Post Office for the provision of these stamps, knowing full well that they used the replica of a different ship on the stamps. I don't know what the answer to it was, but there was probably suing involved in it, but there you are. Easily done. And I'll stick with Cabot because Newfoundland carried on with the errors in designs. They claimed this was John Cabot. It isn't, it's his son who was also a discoverer. His son was Sebastian Cabot, and I've put a little note underneath. Now I've got an item here which changes the world. This stamp was issued round about 1900 with several other stamps in different colours by Nicaragua. And it shows an active volcano in Nicaragua. Now, around this time, unless anyone wants to say now what they think the result of this particular stamp was.
What year was it?
Pardon?
What year was it?
1900.
Ah, that must have been the volcano on the French island, was it?
No.
Oh.
Much more of a world measure than that.
Krakatoa was way before.
Round about the same time, there was a huge campaign going on in the United States to fund and build a canal across the Panama Isthmus. And there were two projected routes. One was on the narrow bit in Panama, only 50 miles long, but would have meant massive excavations. The other was through Nicaragua, a bit further north, but using a whole series of lakes and would have involved much less costly excavation. There were two lobby groups in the United States campaigning to get the Panama Canal built for obvious reasons, save the long journey around the Cape Horn and supply goods to the west coast. When this stamp was issued, the pro-Panama lobby couldn't believe their luck. Some of their members went to Nicaragua, bought about 500 of these stamps, put them on envelopes addressed to senators and members of the House of Representatives of the United States and the President and the Vice President, etc. And said, look, what's on the route for the projected canal across the isthmus? Needless to say, when it came to a vote in the House of Reps and the Senate, it was passed overwhelmingly in favour of building the canal through the Panama Isthmus. And of course, the rest is history.
So they aren't there?
Pardon?
The volcanoes aren't there?
Oh, the volcano still exists,
They're just not doing that?
but it's not on the route of the canal. That's the point. There's no volcanoes on the canal through Panama. So this particular stamp, innocently issued, had worldwide effects. And I'll just add a little bit at the end because being a stamp collector, this is the bit that interests me. These stamps on cover very rarely appear on the sales market, very rarely. There can only be about 400 or 500 of them altogether. They've either been kept by the families of the American representatives or they've been destroyed. And in the whole time I've been collecting more than 50 odd years of war, I've only ever seen one come up for auction, and it sold at the time for over £50,000. That was 40 years ago. Goodness knows what it would cost these days if one of those covers with one of those stamps addressed to an American senator
Have you still got it?
came on the market. Pardon?
Have you still got it?
No. Right, let's get to some more mundane items. That's the big one, I think, so far as stamp collectors are concerned. Here's a real muck-up from East Germany between the music of Schubert and Schumann. In 1956, for the centenary of Robert Schumann, the East German Post Office issued a stamp with him and his music alongside. Unfortunately, the piece of music was by Schubert. So this was taken off the sales straight away in East Germany. Another stamp issued down here with the correct piece of music by Schumann. What happened to the designer in East Germany, you can only guess. The Olympic Games has been the subject of lots of design errors, mainly in the area of showing a sport on a stamp in a certain country that isn't an Olympic sport at all. So here we have Monaco in 1948 showing tennis. Tennis didn't come back to the Olympics until about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, I think, is the right time. An ignorant designer in Croatia showing the French sport of pétanque. You know, that's one of the former balls which the French play. It's never been in the Olympics, but there it is on a set of Olympic stamps from Croatia. Baseball, it's going to be in next time round, actually, for the first time. But Cuba issued a set of stamps for the 1996 and the 2000 Olympics with baseball on it. And Togo in West Africa issued some Olympic stamps way back in 1976 with motorcycling on it. They don't come anywhere near the Olympics. The only time they appear is when they're pacing the bikes around the velodrome. Yeah. Now we'll get a bit more personal, where something's deliberately hidden in a stamp design, for the reasons you'll see why. Channel Islands during the last war were occupied by the Germans, and the Germans were in charge of everything, but they didn't want to change too many of the old British ways, and they kept issuing postage stamps during that time, but not with George VI head on. And they asked one of the a painter in the Channel Islands to design a set of 5 stamps with various island scenery from Guernsey and Jersey. And he did this, the 5 stamps, and in them, unbeknown to the Germans, he put the initials GR. He was obviously a loyalist, George Rex, and when you come up to look at them, everyone is, I've only got one of them because they're all the same. There's a G there and there's an R just to the side of the price of the stamp. The Germans never tweaked it. Never tweaked it. He would have been in severe trouble, I think, had they done so.
Could be standing for the German Reich.
Yeah. Oh, it could do, yes, of course. No, it would have been Deutsches Reich, it would have been a D. The
English version, you know.
yeah.
English version German.
Now this one has got a bit more pathos about it because it's wartime. In Hong Kong, when the Japs walked in 1941, they captured a lot of British troops. And one officer who was captured was an artist, and he spent the whole of the rest of the war as a POW in Hong Kong. When news eventually filtered through to the POWs in Hong Kong that the Japs were losing and were going to lose in the not too distant future, he sat down and designed a victory stamp. But he had to keep it secret until he was released. Now, how he managed it, goodness knows, because the umpteen searches and what would have happened to him had he been found out, you can only guess at. After the end of the war, the Crown agents who were in charge of ordering stamps and issuing them to the various colonies, not the dominions, just the colonies, the ones that didn't have self-government, wrote to all the Commonwealth small countries and said, we're going to issue a set of stamps to commemorate the victory, Houses of Parliament on it, name your particular place, will it be on it as well, is that okay with you? The Hong Kong Post Office wrote back and said, here's the story of this particular painting, would you please use this instead? And they did. Rather nice. until recently, I used to collect stamps with motorcycles on them, and I was mad on them for about 40 years, but I don't anymore. But
Sorry, hadn't you then?
sorry, I used to collect stamps with motorcycles on them. That was my be-all and end-all, but not these days. But I've kept some mementos of them, and then they crop up in various places. But I've got about 4 or 5 which are totally wrong. When Wembley Stadium was reopened, when was it? 2007. The British Post Office issued a whole lot of stamps with lions on them. Wembley was famous for the lions, of course. And in between, there were quite a series of labels showing worldwide events which had taken place at Wembley Stadium. And of course, you can guess what they are. They're the Olympic Games in 1948, England winning the World Cup in '66, various concerts, boxing, and some of you may well remember the World Speedway Championships used to be held there in the 30s, 40s and early 50s. There's a little label down here for a speedway race. But on closer examination by myself and other people in the end, it's the Crystal Palace. And it's only a minor event, it's not the World Championship. Now, how that got on the British stamp, because the British Post Office is very, very particular about what goes on British stamps before it goes either, well, it used to go to the Queen, of course, during the reign, and then it goes to the King now, to finally approve them. Now, how that didn't get spotted, goodness knows, but it did. It got out.
Probably the new owner.
Pardon?
Probably the new owner of the palace. Enforcing it in there.
Now, some countries are absolutely useless at doing things, and I'm not going to point the finger anywhere, but I'll come to one of Liberia in 2001. They issued a nice pretty set for stamp collectors, a whole lot of motorcycles. And this one underneath it has got written Rolls Royce. Rolls Royce? Four-wheelers, yes. Aeroplanes, yes. Motorcycles, no. Why did it have Rolls Royce written underneath it? Well, he'd obviously got to hear that the bike which is there is a Brough Superior. And they were known in the 30s as the Rolls Royce of motorcycles. And anyone who was rich had one. And of course, the most famous person to have one, of course, was Lawrence of Arabia, who unfortunately was fatally killed in Dorset in the 30s, riding a Brough Superior. But there it is as a Rolls Royce. In West Berlin, in the 30s and then in the 40s, there used to be a racing circuit for cars and motorcycles called the Arvus circuit. It was just 2 stretches of Autobahn linked at either end, so you could go up and down and around them, and they were used by cars and motorcycles. It got too dangerous at the end, it got closed. But Germany issued, and this is stamps, this is postal stationery, printed by the West German Post Office, commemorating 50 years of the Arvus circuit. And there's a racing car and a motorbike beside it. Well, aficionados like me looked at it straight away and said, that's wrong. What's the number on the motorcycle? 13. 13 has had an unlucky connotation for donkey's years. Not used in racing cars until very recently. It has been started to be used again, but not very much. The riders said no in the 30s and packed up using it. It has come back in the last 10 to 15 years. But he's got number 13 on it in 1952. He didn't do his homework properly.
I wonder why they chose that number like that.
Well, it's always been unlucky, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, why, you know, out of his head.
Yes, out of his head.
Yeah.
He could have had any number under the sun, but he
Knowing.
had to go and put 13 on it, yeah. And here's some items which have been produced by various countries for events which never took place, but nonetheless they made the issue. The Paris-Dakar rally moves around for several years en route across the Sahara to Dakar, starting in Paris, but eventually it moved on to Portugal and to Lisbon. Portugal issued this lot of stamps in 2008, before the event was due to start, but it was cancelled because there was terrorist activity in the Sahara region and they didn't want the competitors being endangered. So, although the stamps were issued, there was never any event. And Germany was even worse. Their hand stamps, special commemorative hand stamps issued by the German Post Office for the German Motorcycle Grand Prix, and they carried on issuing them throughout the war for every year. And this is for 1944 at Hockenheim.
Strange.
Well, the event never took place, of course. They weren't in the position to run it, but there they are. They were issued. Cricket. Jersey. They play cricket in Jersey. In 2022, it's quite recent. They issued a set, but it's cricket not as we know it in Jersey, apparently. They've got a batsman at both ends, which is quite right, but the batsman at the bowler's end is actually playing a shot. Now, how's he managed that? And how did a place with some intelligence, you would think, like Jersey, actually design something like that for cricket? Pardon? Well, I don't know whether it came across to the UK to get royal approval. It probably did because the Queen's head's on it. But I think someone would have spotted that, surely. Anyway, that's how they play cricket in Jersey, from both ends of the pitch. Even better, some postal stationery from Austria from 1910. And this is genuinely issued and will make you laugh. It's advertising medicine. And over on the back is a bottle of an Austrian medical concoction suitable for children. And then it gives the ingredients of this particular bottle, and they're all printed on the back. Arsenic is in amongst them. I don't think they get away with that these days. How are we doing? Huh? You sure? The Queen, the late Queen, used to be very particular about the side of her outfits on which she wore brooches. Very particular about it. You can imagine she was. Australia in 2023 produced a memorial tribute to the Queen. There she is. And she's got a brooch, ostensibly on her right shoulder. She always wore brooches on her left shoulder.
As you do.
As
Pardon?
you do.
Oh, I presume you are. I don't know because I don't.
Could that be reversed? You know, I mean,
Yes, that's the answer. The Australian Post Office coughed up in the end and said, "Oh, sorry, the photographs got reversed."
I've just been doing that at home on my computer. I just
Yeah.
scanned all the slides in. I put them in the wrong way around.
When you're facing one direction now.
Still some more from Great Britain. Trains in the 1980s celebrating the 150th anniversary of the Liverpool-Manchester Railway. If you look closely at the engine, it should be coupled up with the tender. It's not. So what happened when it moved away? Well, let's leave you to guess at.
No fuel.
Yeah. And a few more. Still some bad errors by the British Post Office. Booklets, if you've ever bought them. This one is issued for second-class stamps, 4 second-class stamps. And they at the time were 14p God, that's a long time ago. 1988. And in the window at the top of the booklet, there's a Queen stamp Machin with the Queen on it, which is first class stamp, 19p. Well, if you bought them for 14p, first class stamps, you've got a bargain. But British Post Office, no one thought about it when they stuck the design on the outside. Same again in 1993, Beatrix Potter booklet, price £6, sold for £5.64, which was the value of the stamps inside. Why it's got the £6 on there, goodness knows. And it's quite often for the wrong people to appear on a stamp, or the wrong name to be appended to the right person, or vice versa, one of the two. This is Grenada in the Caribbean. Inventors. This is inscribed Rudolf Diesel, who was the inventor of the diesel engine. But it's not. Someone a bit more famous. It's James Watt from Scotland. And he's depicted with his steam engine. What's the country? Oh, I said it was Grenada to start with, yeah. Yeah. No one takes much care with these.
It's just like trying, I've got to find a picture of an engine, you know, what can I go through and, well, that one will do.
No,
you know,
that's right,
no
yeah.
way.
And I'll finish with it's done about half an hour. I'll finish with another one, which is from the French Southern and Antarctic territories. In other words, some of their islands in the Indian Ocean. Kerguelen's the biggest one. Here's a picture of an Eskimo, a penguin, and a polar bear. They've never been seen in the Antarctic, of course. Anyway, any questions? Otherwise, you can come up and have a look.
On that, the British error that you said about just a Paris versus Italy, was the error on the miniature sheet rather than the stamp?
It's on the label, it's not on the stamp.
Yeah, because that's the whole miniature sheet.
Yeah,
The stamp.
that's right. Yeah.
So that's a little bit better than
Yeah,
on the stamp.
yeah,
That's it, yeah.
that's all right.
When they were noticed, were they withdrawn or did they just...
Some of them were, as I told you, from East Germany, some of them were. But they've not all been noticed by the post office concerned, or even by the designers. They've just been noticed by collectors like myself.
Do they become suddenly a lot more expensive to buy?
Oh, they were worth collecting. Some of them are worth it. Oh, the Nicaragua one is out of this world with the volcano and the Panama Canal story behind it.
Yeah, because you coins nowadays, people collect coins
Yeah.
that have got a fault on them. Same sort of thing, really.
Oh yeah, so
yeah.
they'll have design faults on them. You bet your bottom dollar. Yeah.
I heard that there's a, I don't know whether it was on the back of a banknote or whether it was on a stamp. There's an Italian stamp or banknote showing the bridge between mainland Italy and Sicily, which has never been built.
Oh, I don't think it's on the stamp.
It's
probably on a banknote.
or something like that. It shows the bridge between the two.
Yeah.
Amazing, isn't it?
Never actually been
Yeah.
built.
Oh, well.
Interesting one about the cricket though, because if you, I don't know whether you watched the latest test match, but when Stokes was running into long, they obviously came in on Stokes at the far end, and the batsman that was that end was actually practicing his shots. So
Oh,
I
right.
thought to myself,
Ah.
so actually you haven't seen that one.
Yeah, so they
So it
Yeah.
does happen, but I must admit that does seem a bit odd to put.
well, I think it's a bit far-fetched on there.
Isn't that a compilation of poses of individual fielders and bowlers? Like a collage rather than a picture of a bowling.
Oh yes, I think that was the intention,
Yeah.
but it looks out of place, of course. That's the trouble.
John, it's such a wide subject. Do you concentrate on anything?
I do these days, but something that I don't pick up on these. It's very esoteric. my wife and I have travelled on the most northerly railway in the world several times during the winter and in the summer. That's the line between Kiruna and Narvik in Sweden and Norway. And I collect mail that's travelled on there, plus postcards of the same.
Interesting.
And it took some building. I can tell you a whole story about it.
Well, next talk.
No, do come up and have a look.
Anyway, thank you very much for that. That was excellent. Are they worth more on an envelope, these stamps?
Yes. Yes. As a general.
Right. Yes, that's fascinating. And much more interesting way of delivering it, I thought.
Yeah, makes
Came
sense.
across very well. And so, well, the trouble is, everyone else has to have the screen, don't they, Mike? But no, it came across very well.
Yeah.
Right, so before you move, next week, Surrey Heath Age Concern by Charles Barber.
I had breakfast with him this morning.
Did you? Yeah. Well, didn't he tell you that he was on next week?
We're all too young, aren't we?
Yeah. Okay, so please come again next week, and thanks for coming this time. And I think you've enjoyed a really good presentation. So